As Rabbi Greenbaum from Gesundheit mentioned, 50 years ago, when the Rebbe came down in a surprise Fabrengen, the night, Mr. Shabbos, the Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe mentioned something that he heard from his Shver, from the previous Rebbe, who quoted his father, the Rebbe Rashab, that when Siddim get together for a Fabrengen, and chazer over and repeat the tears of the Rebbe, that it's as if you're standing in front of the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe is here with us, and you're giving a part of your nefesh with all of your deepest requests to the Alter Rebbe. So standing here, holy day of Chof Dalet Teves, when the heavens open, when the Alter Rebbe comes down to us, it's a mamish, a very, very special moment. I wanted to start, before we sing the next thing, I wanted to tell you a story. And the story indicates how wherever a Jew is, wherever a chassid is, the Rebbe is with him. Many years ago, when I was a young boy, I met an old chassid, very, very old man, and he learned in Lubavitch in Russia. And he once met a chassid who, as a very young man, was a chassid of the Rebbe Marash. Very few people who met people who were chassidim of the Rebbe Marash, long, long time ago. And he was a young man, and one day he got a letter in the post, in the mail, telling him that he's been summoned to be drafted in the Tsar's army. Now, 100 years ago, 150 years ago in Russia, if a Jewish fellow, let's say 18 years old, is taken from his home, taken from his yeshiva, and sent to the Tsar's army, life is miserable. You have nothing, it's hard, you can't hardly eat, you can hardly sleep. They beat you physically, the Gashmis, incredibly difficult. How much more so if you're a frum Yid, Chassidish Yid, how could you survive? How do you daven? How do you keep Shabbos? If you went into the Tsar's army, you're finished. Your Yiddishkeit is down the drain. And he gets this ominous letter threatening him to be drafted to the Tsar's army with a big anti-Semite. What does he do? Chassid knows when you're in a shtach, when you're in a tzara, there's one address. So he journeyed for 2 days and 2 nights from his town, his village, to Lubavitch. And he went into the Rebbe Marash, and he's expecting the Rebbe Marash to tell him what's going to be. What should he do? Let's say certain tillin, daven, take on certain mitzvahs. What should he do? The Eibusher should help him. He should avoid going in the army. He waits, he's shaking. Time comes, he goes into the Rebbe Marash for Yechidus, and he begins to give him a pan, starts crying. Rebbe, they're about to take me to the army in 6 months. I have to stand before the draft board. What should I do? And the Rebbe Marash just says, you, they certainly won't take it. And with his head, he symbolizes, he's a signal, Yechidus is over. And the fellow comes out from the Rebbe, and he's very broken. I mean, on one hand, the Rebbe told him, he promised him, that they're not going to take you in the army. But on the other hand, he thought the Rebbe would give him a program of what to do, what to daven, what mitzvahs to do, garnish. All the Rebbe Marash said was, you, they're certainly not going to take, you have no problem. And he journeys back for 2 days and 2 nights to his village. And he doesn't know, how is the Eibusher going to send him a Yeshua? How is the miracle going to happen? He doesn't know. And days and weeks and months pass. And suddenly he gets a bitter piece of news that the Rebbe Marash was nostalgic, passed away. The Gashmi is from this world. So now he wonders, the Rebbe is not even here, I can't even turn to the Rebbe again if I'm in trouble. And a few months pass, and the day comes when he has to go to the offices of the draft board to present himself. They have an examination, a medical, to see if he's fit. And this guy is like 6'2", 250 pounds. He's stark like a bull, right? There's nothing wrong with him. He's a healthy specimen. And there's no way, if you're walking around, if you're 2'5" and you're walking hinkadik and you're half blind, whatever, they'll throw you out. But a healthy Cheder, a hefta, the doctor will surely say he'll be a great soldier in the army. What's he going to do? He's incredibly nervous. and he's walking up the stairs. He goes to the draft board, Ziv in Russia, in the old days, and suddenly, for some odd reason, he turns around and he sees the Rebbe Marash is walking behind him. The Rebbe Marash passed away, right? He's no longer here. Could you imagine the goosebumps down the guy's spine? He starts shaking. He doesn't want to look back. He thinks maybe I'm dreaming, maybe I'm hallucinating, maybe I had too much mashke at the Fabrengen last night. I'm seeing things. So he goes into the office, and the secretary has to tell him which office he has to go for his examination. And he looks behind him one more time, and again the Rebbe Marash is standing there. And he's freaking out. He's cracking up. He's like, wow, he's like, awesome. But then he has to go, they tell him eventually, he gets to the secretary, you go to this office. He goes into the doctor's office for the medical exam. He looks around, like from the back of his eye, and the Rebbe Marash is standing there again. This time he's plotting. He starts perspiring. He's shivering. The sweat is pouring off his face. His hands are trembling. His heart is beating like a his pulse is off the charts. The doctor gives one look at him, and he starts screaming. Why do they send me kranke Menschen here? Get out of here, never come back, I don't want to see you again. And he went home, and then he realized that the Rebbe Marash's bracha was taka mekuyim. You for sure they won't take. Why? Because the Rebbe was with them wherever he went. And the moral of the story is that as we are here, Chof Dalet Teves, wherever we go, the Alter Rebbe is here. How do we come? How do we find the Rebbe? How do we attach ourselves to the Alter Rebbe? You know what the most important thing is? You open up the Alter Rebbe's Sforim, and you start learning, and here the Alter Rebbe is. Just like the Rebbe said at the Fabrengen, at the Chof Dalet Teves, what is the first word of the Aseret Adibus? Anoich. What is Anoich? Aleph, Nun, Chof, Yud. What does it stand for? Anoich, Nafshi, Sovis, Yehovah. The Eibishter says, I'm placing myself in my Torah. When a Yid learns Torah, the Eibishter's Torah. The Rebbe always quoted a Chazal. When you learn Torah, you're taking the Eibishter. Likewise, Tzaddikim Torah and the Baron, Tzaddikim are like the Eibishter. They have that quality that when they say something, they put themselves, their neshama, in their Torah. So whenever a Yid opens an Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, whenever a Yid Chassid opens up a talmidim and starts learning, there he finds the Rebbe. That's where the Alter Rebbe is. Let me tell you two stories about the power of talmidim. These are awesome stories. You gotta, I'll go. Many years ago, there was a rabbi in New Jersey, a very famous rabbi, who was not a Lubavitcher. And he would often go to Russia to help the Jews of silence in difficult times, in dark days of communism, where they persecuted Jews. And every time he's about to go to Russia, he would suddenly get a call from the Rebbe's secretaries. The Rebbe knows you're going, and the Rebbe asked if you could bring Tashmish Kedusha, Tzilin, Sforim, Zuzis, etc. And he always agreed. One time he was going to Russia, and suddenly he gets a call from the Rebbe's secretary. We know you're going. Could you bring a Tanya and bring it to Russia? You know the story? Okay, I'll tell you another story then. Bring a Tanya. And wherever you go in Russia, keep the Tanya, small pocket-sized Tanya, keep it in your pocket. Okay, he didn't know should he not, he's not a Lubavitcher, but he took it. He's in the streets of Moscow, walking home from shul one day. Someone grabs him by surprise behind him, puts a gag on his mouth so he can't talk, he can't scream. He puts a shmata covering up his eyes. He can't see, he can't talk. They take him, they stuff him in the back of a car, And this guy is shaking. Maybe the communist, the KGB, has taken him. He's going to be sent to Siberia for 50 years. Suddenly, they eventually arrive at his destination, remove the gag, remove the blindfold, and they tell him, we're Chassidim, we're friends, not foe. But we were scared that in case someone asked you, where were you? You'll spill the beans, you'll say the truth. We didn't want you to know where you are, where you're going, the address. Therefore, we blindfolded you. But we know you've come from America, and we want you to fabric for us. See, they were desperate. In those days, there was no communication. They didn't know was tutzah by the Rebbe in 770. Desperate. So the rabbi was praying, was saying Cheder for them. And he told them, by the way, the Rebbe sent me a Tanya and told me to carry it. The Chassidim were so enthralled. You mean you have a Tanya that the Rebbe himself touched? Yeah, I have it with me in my pocket. Oh, who we see it? Now, two of the Chassidim had a major problem, a major decision to make. And they didn't know where to turn, what to do. They could just send a letter to the Rebbe. One fellow who was involved in spreading Yiddishkeit in the underground of Lubavitch, in Russia, he was told, someone whispered in his ear, that the KGB, the secret police, are out to get you. You better scram, you better beat it, you better get out of here. Otherwise they'll arrest you and send you to prison. But on the other hand, he's doing such important work here. So they didn't know whether he should remain in the Cheder Nefesh, maybe he'll be arrested, or maybe he should lie low for a while until the KGB loses track of it. What should I do? There was another chassid who heard that perhaps there's an opportunity to apply to a visa to be able to emigrate, to leave Russia and go to Eretz Yisrael. But if he applies and the application is rejected, then he'll really be in Shliach. He'll really be in Rebbe. Big problem. What should I do? Suddenly, the rabbi takes out the Tanya from his pocket. The Chassidim are so eager to touch a Tanya that they never touch. And suddenly, the first chassid opens the Tanya, and he turns white, and he begins to tremble. Makara, what happened? He saw, Kutis Acher, look it up yourself, I think the Taf Kuf Samach Chetz. The Rebbe made a bend in the little dog ears, you know what I'm talking about? Make a bend on the page, and he opens it up. And the first words on the line of that page in Tanya, Shashod Chukaloi B'Yoser V'Iyaf Shaloi Lahant. It's an emergency, it's pressing, it's incredibly dangerous, and you dare not wait even one more moment. The chassid sees that was his answer from the Rebbe. He has to leave Moscow, lie low for a while, and Yavrzah, until the wrath of the authorities subsides. He got his answer. He then passes on the Tanya to the second person. He opens up, and there's a second place in the Tanya where the Rebbe also made dog ears, right? And there the line begins of the Tanya, on the page, Li'ikones la'oretz, to enter into the land. So he understood that, the Rebbe is telling him he should apply to the visa. That's what happened, and today he lives, Baruch Hashem, in Eretz. That's one story. Another story. I said this last night at Fabrengen. There was a Yid, his name was Steinmetz, and he was a wealthy man, and he lived in Caracas, Venezuela. And he used to import, you know, Panasonic, you ever see electrical goods, which were made in Japan. They're imported throughout the world, and he had the sole import rights to South America. And he would travel regularly on business to Japan to do business with the headquarters of National Panasonic. And one day he's in Japan, he's about to go to Japan, and suddenly he gets a phone call from the Rebbe's secretary. We know you're going to Japan. He probably wrote a letter to the Rebbe that the trip, the journey should go fine. Could you please do the Rebbe a favor when you arrive in Japan? There'll be a package waiting for you, and we want you to deliver the package to the appropriate destination. Okay, why not? The Rebbe asked him. He arrives in Japan. In the airport, they page it, and there's a package waiting for him, addressed to him, but it doesn't say what to do with it. Where to deliver this package? Who's the receiver? What does it say? He opens it up, and it's 2 tanyas. What is he going to do with a tanya in Japan? Doesn't know. So he put it in his attaché case, went on his business. He had a day to kill at the end of his trip. He finished all his business meetings. So what's he going to do? He heard that in that particular city, in Alishvatz-Yoren, far away in a city called Kobe in Japan, there's a shul, which is built in traditional Japanese Oriental architecture. Okay? He'll decide he'll visit the shul. He goes into the shul, and he sees a Yid sitting in the shul, he's crying his eyes out. So he goes over to him, I see you're distressed, full of anguish. Can I help you? Share with me your tightness, your problems. You can't help me, nobody can help me, I'm in dread. His mamish out of his mind. What happened? So he tells him, he's a traveling salesman. He travels from country to country selling goods. And once he was on a plane, sitting buckled the seatbelt, and the plane is on the runway, it's taxiing on the runway, about to take off, and then there was a crash. And the plane caught on fire, and Baruch Hashem, they rescued him, he was safe. But the next day he went on the plane again to go home, and suddenly he started reliving the trauma, the cries, the screams, the anguish of all the people. Imagine a fire that the people being burnt alive, roasted. Kitos Hey. And he got on the plane and he heard all these screams of these people. He was reliving it. He couldn't bear it. He's going out of his mind. He had to exit the plane. And every time he got on the plane, he would suddenly have like a flashback of the trauma of that accident. He couldn't go on a plane. But how can he be a traveling salesman if he can't travel? He met a Chabadnik, and he told him, write to the Rebbe. But he had no choice. He wrote to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told him, wherever you go, wherever you travel, keep with you a little Tanya. And the Rebbe told him certain parts of the Tanya. As you sit in your seat, learn those shtickles from Tanya, and all these hallucinations, these terrible, horrific thoughts will disappear. And that's exactly what he did. For years, he's been traveling the world with his Tanya. Baruch Hashem, everything is fine. He now finds himself years later in Japan, in the middle of nowhere, and somehow he misplaced, he lost his Tanya, and he got on the plane today, and again he's having these hallucinations, these traumatic thoughts. He had to get off, he's cracking up. And he doesn't know, man, what am I going to do? I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere. I can't get on a plane, I can't stay in Japan the rest of my life. And this Mr. Steiner said, the Rebbe thought about it. And he pulled out from the Cheder, he said, Tanya, that's the end of it. And the moral of the story is, in Tanya, in Chassidus, the Alter Rebbe gave up the second one for him. That was the gift for being the Shliach of the Rebbe. And the moral of the story is, in a nutshell, wherever we go in the world, if you want to know what path should I take, what should I do, how can I come to truth, you open up the Tanya. And all the storms surrounding us suddenly subside, and we become one with the Rebbe. We bring the Alter Rebbe into our lives, into our hearts, into our minds, and then we're protected from all the storms about it. So we're about to sing a niggin. I want you to think. Everyone knows the image of the Alter Rebbe, the tzir, the holy face of the Alter Rebbe. Think of the Alter Rebbe, the tzir, and there should be a yearning, a craving within everyone's heart. I want to bring the Alter Rebbe into my life. All together.